Hello and welcome to the CHRISTWVRKS podcast. Today I'm with Abby Tonge. Is that how you say your second name?
Tonge, yeah.
Yeah,
Tongue, but it's tongue.
yeah. Well, when I was typing it in there, I was like, "Is it tongue?" No, and then it just reminded me of what's that TV show, the thingy from Tonga?
Oh shit! Loads of people say it wrong all the time. I'm so used to it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not a popular name though, is it?
No. Yeah. Where is it from?
I don't actually know. A lot of people say this to me. But it's not anything exciting. It really isn't. I think it's pretty English.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So you are a tattooer at Ultimate Skin, and you are doing some sick sock tat socks. If anyone wants to get some new socks for quarantine for bumming around, then yeah, check out your socks. But so I mean, today we're kind of, the plan is that I was gonna do my first sort of topical topical podcast of the shit that's going down at the moment, because
a lot.
I mean, so yeah, everyone's bored of the COVID shit, so everyone started rioting in America, and then now in the tattoo industry we have kind of a
shitstorm,
like another thing that everyone's talking about, following the Brad North scandal, which is actually really linked. Well, not linked, but they both those guys know each other and stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that was when I realized that, I was like, oh fuck. So yeah, if anyone doesn't,
Matt Rathbone, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Okay, so if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, just offhand, if you want to just give an overview quickly, because also I've kind of come a bit late to the party because I've been having a mental health break from Instagram. So I actually had no idea that it was what was happening until people started telling me. So yeah, if you give an overview, and then we can see
what's what. Well, I think unfortunately a lot of people have been aware of Max in particular for a long time, which is, it's sad that a lot of people have known what he's about and what he does and what his attitude is, etc. And we've all been silent for so long, which, that speaks volumes. But now it's all come to light. No one can sit and let this carry on anymore. I mean, it's I think before, because there wasn't the people coming forward publicly, it's like, how would you go about doing something like that without tarnishing, you need the proof, in order to, because you don't want to be ruining people's lives unnecessarily, and all that kind of thing. But now there's that unity where we've seen the proof. We know that it's happening. We know that it's happening everywhere, in every industry. The fact that it's ours and people are abusing that power under our noses day to day, it hurts. It hurts everybody. It's sad to think that there's people that are abusing that power, people that we might know. There's people coming forward every single day with it. But I think what happened was, it was on was it Tuesday? No, it was late last week. If you say you sort of weren't online last week.
Not for the last 2 weeks. So
yeah, it's a good thing. I think it was one particular girl called Lucy who had sort of just decided enough's enough, and she sort of made a post. And then a couple.
Was she a tattooer, or was she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bless her, she made a video and just sort of gave her account of what sort of happened to her. From what I know, she was sort of seeking advice from Max at the point of her starting to get into tattooing, and she was in an apprenticeship at the time, I think, and he sort of offered her some guidance. And I think at that point, obviously, if somebody like Max, if that's somebody that you would respect and you love his work and you sort of are inspired by him, and then he gives you the time of day, then you're gonna whack it up, aren't you? You're gonna absorb everything that you can. But again, it was that abuse of sort of using her, I guess. Inappropriate things happened from that point. sort of using her as bait, really, I suppose. And that's what a lot of people do. I mean, have you seen much of the posts now?
I saw one. I went on Fidget's page briefly to check out some of the, like, I think it was like one of the later on kind of accounts.
There's so much.
The stories of what had happened, and like I only went through a couple things, and I was like, oh man, this is so great, and it was the kind of, like, I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing that I couldn't bear to read it, or if, like, it's like a
lot about you. I mean, I think we all definitely felt that, especially with everything that's going on at the minute with America and things like that. It's almost like,
I was kind of like, it was right early in the morning when I started reading it, and I was like, man, this is not what I kind of want to like start my day with, and like, and also because, like I know like I tattooed Brad North and stuff, and and he
I remember you telling me, I think.
And so I remember speaking to him when he first started his apprenticeship with Max Rathbone, and like very, very quickly, because basically Brad used to text me quite a lot, asking me questions about drawing and shit, but I'd always just like tell him everything I know.
Absolutely, that's what definitely connected on, wasn't it? That like there's a lot of people out there that will be quite hush when it comes to sort of, and people wanting to start out in tattooing and not giving advice and not giving this, not giving that. Like, there might be certain things that you might want to keep to yourself that you sort of years, secrets of like this paper that you might use, or where you get this, where you get that. Do you know what I mean? Like things like that.
Well, with me, I'm more just like, I'm not gonna like.
You want to support
people, encouraging people to literally do tattoos on people because it's dangerous. That's the only thing. When it comes to drawing, I'll tell everyone anything, because I don't feel like threatened by anyone. Not because I'm so amazing, but because I feel like if they start doing something, if they take what my knowledge and use it better than me, then they deserve that, and I need to up my game. So the onus is on me, not them. But I mean, I remember Brad very, very early on into his apprenticeship texting me being like, oh yeah, there's some like weird vibes going on in the shop, and I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, oh, like Max and a couple of the other guys being like creepy with my clients and that. I mean, and this is like, this is just like, I mean, literally like 2 weeks into it, and I was like, we were talking about some drawing thing or whatever, and then I was like, oh, how's your apprenticeship going? And he was like, yeah, it's really good. I'm really happy to be doing it, but, and then said that, and I was like, oh, okay. And you said that, he was being particularly, because obviously a lot of Brad's clients were girls, like these young, pretty girls, and, Max was.
And there's that Max as well.
Yeah.
I've known, I mean, I'm not going to mention names, but I know someone specifically that actually, when I lived in Lincoln, when I first started tattooing, I was in Lincoln, and there was a colleague, a friend at the time that I worked with, his ex-girlfriend actually sort of went to and from Birmingham to go and get tattooed by Max, and I knew there was something really weird going on there, because she was going down a lot and she was getting really tattooed really quickly, and it was like all blackout stuff, and like tattoos in areas that like she sort of never really said that she'd planned to get tattooed. And whenever she'd come back, like, it all just seemed very strange, the relationship that was sort of like
what do you mean?
Like the things that she'd say about like how close he would get with her and things like that, like kind of basically what Brad was saying, it just something didn't feel right, like it just didn't feel, so she stopped going in the end.
Really? Okay.
But this was years
ago. How do you feel like that? Do you think, so you're saying that she was kind of coerced into getting so heavily tattooed so quickly?
Yeah, and I
felt
think a lot of it
uncomfortable the whole time as well.
I think at first no, because she obviously sort of, I think she liked the idea of, I think maybe she liked him at first, and it was that kind of like,
But then that's not even to say that she liked him sexually. She might have just liked being around him, right? You know, like it's possible that guys and girls can just like want to hang out with each other, right? You know, especially when someone's like a talented tattooer. You know, it's cool to just be around people that are very good at what they do.
Yeah. You know? But the sort of vibe that I got was when she stopped sort of going was that it began to become uncomfortable, and it began to sort of not be what she sort of thought it might be.
Well, that's I mean, people. That's okay. So do you remember when we were growing up, there was the whole thing about stranger danger, right? And that was what you used to teach young kids about, you know, it's like that, you know, don't go with strangers and stuff. But then in the sort of early 2000s, late 90s, they realized that that was fucking useless, because actually what really happens in reality is normally the kid knows the perpetrator, you know, and so it's insidious, and it's a long game as well.
Yeah.
You know, this shit doesn't just happen overnight. Like,
no.
And like, you know, like rape and stuff is
it's the
manipulator
kind of
there's waiting in the bushes kind of rape is not very common, but the kind of, you know, putting the pressure on very slowly, and that's the thing, is these guys, they you know, they're doing it 24/7 with everyone, and they're just planting the seed and growing it.
Yeah, the fact that's what scares me the most is, like, I've worked in a lot of different shops with a lot of different people, and like I just think we don't know what people are capable of, you know, and like it could be right under our noses, and that's what scares me the most.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it can be happening like really, like, you know, in the quiet times during tattoo, you know, like when it all you can hear is machines, but everyone is still talking to their clients. You just can't hear what each other are saying.
Yeah.
That's when I started thinking about it, I was like, that is probably when it's happening a lot. You know, and there's one side, there's like the sort of laddie banter bullshit, you know, saying inappropriate things for comedic effect,
kind of like the boys kind of attitude.
Yeah, so that's something obviously that's fucking wank. But that's very different. I'm not. It's very it's just very different from the insidious kind of like long game, you know, manipulation thing. But I mean, those two things tend to go hand in hand, right? But then the problem is the insidious one can slip under the radar as well.
Yeah.
It's only with a level of confidence that the sort of laddie bullshit one comes out.
Yeah, really. Absolutely. It's scary that people think that it's the tiniest bit acceptable to be that relaxed and that sort of feel that comfortable to say inappropriate things on any level to a customer. It's
because that's the thing, is it's not funny unless they're uncomfortable from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, you know, there is like a direct abuse of power.
100%.
Because it's like, oh, we're the in crowd here, and we can use you for our amusement, and there's fucking nothing you can do about it.
No respect whatsoever for. They clearly, there is that sort of ego and that, like you said, the sort of I am God's gift kind of, which obviously we know has been, and probably a fraction of it will always remain in the industry.
I think tattooing is especially
Max thrived on. We all know that. And there's a lot of people that still do and always will, but it has to stop. You know, like I kind of feel like there'll be a lot of people shitting themselves right now as well. People that are maybe quite quiet, and they're not sort of like trying to raise awareness and shout about like this has to change. You know, because they know that they've done wrong, and you know, there's people coming out every day sort of saying that they're stepping back from tattooing because they know that what they've not, you know, they've put their hands up, and it's scary. It's scary to think that could be, you know, one of our friends that's or whatever.
I've always felt like people get very like the whole argument of I know this guy and he would never do something like that, right? Like
any capable of anything.
People get really fucking weird when it comes to love and sex. Like,
Yeah.
it's like that's like the animal part of you, right? And like,
Yeah.
and that's like the deepest, like most recessed part of your brain, and your like outward personality that you greet everyone on a day-to-day basis with has almost nothing to do with that. You know, like when you watch like interviews with serial killers and stuff, none of them seem like a fucking serial killer. They all seem like just humans, right?
It comes down to not wanting to believe it, not wanting to believe that that person is capable.
Yeah.
It's
and
too
also
much.
that you would, most importantly, that you didn't see it, because that's it. People feel like that they don't want to admit it because it makes it seem like they did something wrong, but everyone was fooled. You know, you don't have to. You don't have to try and defend someone, right?
We're all responsible in certain ways of you know, I'm sure we've all experienced or know of rumours or of you know, tattooers acting inappropriately with clients or this or that, whether it's like really mild, you know, it all adds up to people's experiences, like you know, like Fidget and like everybody else was saying at the weekend, it's like it doesn't matter the level of the experience that you have, whether it was like the fact that you were groped when you were having a stencil put on you, or you know, a sliding comment, it doesn't matter. Like the fact is, like, that was your experience and that was wrong. You know, it's a service at the end of the day. People don't like to think that it is a service-based industry, because we all do what we want to do. We're all self-employed. We're all got this like independent thing of like, I am this person. I do what I want. It's like, that's been something that I've noticed since I started tattooing, that there's definitely been an attitude of this like just free for all kind of, there isn't that service there for a lot of people, you know, like
well, they think it's about them and not the customer. That's like the underlying, under all of this is narcissism. You know, and it's like this is about me, and like I am the god of this realm. And so you know,
very self.
So and I feel like it's like that. I think it's like a really gradual slip. So like what I always say is like, tattooing is kind of the perfect industry to create egotistical narcissists, because
100%.
you imagine every day you're getting handed someone that thinks that you're amazing. Otherwise,
they want your work.
They're giving you their body. They're literally giving you their body to do like your kind of will with. And if and they think that you're amazing, and a lot of the time they'll tell you you're amazing. And I really think if you don't really try to not start to believe that, then you will. You know, it's like an active thing that you have to do. But if you're the kind of person that's actually desperate already for that kind of gratification, you'll believe it very fucking quickly. And
like, I don't know about you, but I find it really difficult to take compliments in general. So when customers are, you know, giving you that feedback, I try and take it on board, but at the same time, like in my head, I'm like, no, I can do better. Do better.
But it makes me feel uncomfortable when people are overtly complimentary, but I've always much more defined myself through my own opinion of my work. So like, for me, but then for me, I'm not like crazy down on myself. I'm like really, really harshly realistic. So I don't, I don't, so like, so I'm not like, I never get like bummed out by my work, but I get frustrated when it's not going the right way. But I never feel like this is never gonna work. I never feel that. I've always been confident in like, if I just fucking keep practicing and keep trying hard, I will get there. That's all there is to it. And if I don't, then it's only my fault. Like I've never had like a what's the word?
Defeatist.
Defeatist, exactly. I've never been like that. So
no. You can always, there's always a way to improve.
Well, so and just when you realize that just hard work is just that's all. And like hard work is easy once you're used to hard work. So, like,
that's all you know.
Then it's just a case of time.
100%.
Which is but like I mean, so that's where I where I can see that this type of behavior can manifest itself is because of that that kind of thing. Plus, also, I mean, like, you always think that because the tattoo industry is like kind of like an artistic, like, you know, seemingly like, you know, like seemingly kind of open-minded kind of place now, anyway. I mean, obviously it didn't used to be like that.
Yeah.
You'd hope that this kind of behavior would be lesser than it is everywhere, because that's the whole thing. It's like this kind of behavior and this kind of thing happens in every industry, right? But what I kind of worry now is, in reality, it might actually be worse in the tattoo industry because of what I was just describing, giving these guys who would be prone to it and do it in no matter what industry they were in, but then they're given this like huge inflated sense of like godliness that they can do whatever they want, and they, you know, they're entitled to do whatever they want because they are who they are and they're special, you know.
Yeah, definitely. The access that we have to our customers as well, you know, through Instagram, like it's always available for us to be able to communicate with them.
Yeah.
And they, you know, they come to us, we come to them. It's that kind of like, that's worrying in itself as well. There shouldn't be that.
Yeah, I never even thought of that actually, because it's not. Yeah, I forgot. I didn't even really think about the fact that it's not just in the shop.
No.
It's also all the other shit.
Yeah, totally. And that's why, you know, people sending unsolicited dick pics and, you know, messages and like, you know, it's like, I can't comprehend it. I can't like understand in my head like what goes through the head to make think it's acceptable to sit on your couch. You've worked on somebody all day and they're in the most vulnerable state. You know, it's like you
but
wouldn't.
That's also the thing, is that you're thinking about this from your own perspective, where I've thought about the unsolicited dick pic thing quite a lot, and what it kind of is that it's unsolicited, and that's what attracts them to it. They're doing it like a lot of people that have like rape fetish. It's not. It's because it's rape. It's not because it's like, you know, sex, right? They're doing it as a what they like about it is that they are taking control over the other person, and the other person doesn't like it. You know, it's that that sensation of godly power and lack and just like it's the power trip, right? And so there's
can you imagine what they must get off on when they're tattooing somebody?
Yeah, putting them through pain and
like it makes me want to throw up. Like it makes me so upset. Like
so like that's the worst part, is like when you sit and say about how it's like, I can't understand how they think it's acceptable. It's like they're doing it because they don't think it's acceptable, and that's even worse.
Yeah,
and that's where it's actually pathological and what we would describe as depraved as well, which is it's really depressing. And I would hope at least that comes from something outside of the industry creating them to be that way. That, you know, I mean, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, what do we do with these people? You know, because
well, they need to fuck off. That's for sure. Like 100%. Like leave, just go. And I mean, there will be more people, I believe. I don't believe that this is like the end of it. Like I do think there'll be people.
No, totally.
There will. I mean, from what I've seen, a lot of people. Some people have walked away and said, "That's it. Like I'm walking away from tattooing." And
really, you know, like who's what? Like people have just gone like
mentioning names. Oh God.
Well, if they've already walked away, you don't have anything to worry about, right?
Like Gibbo came out the other day.
Well, what did he say?
I mean, I didn't see the post, but I saw what Northern Rain had posted, just that he'd admitted to indecent messaging and things like that. And they doing.
That's crazy. Like that's like I never thought anyone.
No, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. I have had some messages about somebody, but nothing's been confirmed yet, and it happens to be a friend of mine.
Really?
Yeah. So, but I've been advised not to sort of name
of course.
him until like there's evidence and things. So, so that's really upsetting. But obviously, in my mind, I'm done with them. Like that's it. And then there's been my friend, you know, Will Sparling.
No.
Anyway, he's a tattooist from Norwich, and he had a friend, Brad Ward. I think he worked at Rag and Bone in Norwich. He was somebody that I think he might have got sacked. I think. But yeah, he's walked away from tattooing. Like they're literally like putting tattooing to bed. Like they're admitting it and then walking away.
That's crazy.
It's that brutal.
I mean, that's I mean, what we always worry that like sort of activism or kind of like very, you know, like things like this, like things on the internet of people that blow up and people get outed and stuff. You always worry that it doesn't actually really do anything, or it only does something for this specific case or whatever. And that's proof that I guess it actually does. I've not really
gotten into anything before, like, you know, speaking out, not because I don't have anything to say, but because I just know that it can end up being like just a fucking tornado of shit, and you end up like I like to deal with facts as well, obviously. Like I don't ever want to say anything that isn't 100% concrete and things. So the things that I have said, I know have happened and they've been put out there. But we have to shout. We have to make awareness. We have to bring it use our platforms to raise awareness for it, because at the end of the day, they thrive on silence.
Yeah, you know? Totally. Like you couldn't do it.
They're victims in order to they rely on that, you know, to carry on. And the more we're silent about it and don't call out, even if it is a friend that's been doing it, somebody that you've worked with for 5 years, like they have to be outed in order for us for our customers to be safe, and to have that, to eliminate this bullshit in the industry. I mean, like we said earlier, it happens everywhere. Like we know that the Me Too movements for across the board, across the world is there, but we can use our platforms to stop these people. And you know, our eyes are open to it now, where people are hopefully not scared of saying something, you know, because it's actual, like it's real, it's there.
It's a hugely emotionally taxing thing to go through, though, and it's like obviously anyone who's been through something like that is obviously going to be at an emotional deficit anyway.
Oh God.
And having it's like the bravery to do it is one thing, but actually being like, I'm going to put myself through the shitstorm that's about to happen by me like speaking out of it is like so huge, because like to me, like so like when obviously I've seen stuff in tattoo shops that I'm not cool with, and then like most of the time I've been like, you know, said like, you know, said something, but to make a public thing of it is what I would just, me personally, because I fight to constantly to try and not engage with social media as much as possible.
So, like, what I was trying to say earlier, like I don't like, I like being quite private as well. Like I like to work out there and all
so
that.
that would be my thing. I wouldn't I like, one of the reasons I wouldn't want to do it is because I would selfishly just like couldn't be arsed with the shitstorm, and it's like it's not really fair to be like, hey, I'm putting this information out there and then I'm just leaving it and I'm not gonna fucking engage with this argument any further. You kind of have to, right? And being in a place where that you're ready to engage with it on that level is like, it's a huge commitment to be like that.
It is. Like Will, for example, my friend, he had, Brad was one of his quite close friends. He was good friends with him. Didn't work at the same shop in Norwich, but he knew of somebody else as well. He knew these two men had been doing all of everything that we know people have been doing, the dick pic, the awful messages, graphic, awful shit that no one would want to see, like. And he got evidence from messages. I think he put a post out the night before, and he woke up to about 60 messages from people in Norwich that had been tattooed by these with screenshots of evidence, basically. So when you get that much, like it's like, and that's all that's on your phone. It's like, well, yeah, you have fuck the backlash that you're gonna get. Like, these people need to be protected now, and future people need to be protected. Like they need to stop tattooing, like, because they are predators, they are damaging people's lives, and they will continue to do that unless they are stopped. So I was really proud of Will, and I know a lot of people are, for doing that. Like, I don't even think the backlash thing sort of like crossed his mind, but yeah, he outed those two guys, and if he hadn't done that, like, that's like two guys in one city. Do you know what I mean? It just makes you think, like, all the amount of other people that are out there as well. That's what's so overwhelming, and hurts. And it's not just women as well. Like, you know, like, I've been thinking men as well will have gone through this, and like, there'll be victims out there that feel like maybe even more so they don't feel like they can speak out because they might feel ashamed, or do you know what I mean? Like,
the male sexual assault thing is very in the world that we live in, and also just, you know, like, as well as personally for the same reasons that it is for girls to come out about it, is like, it's very difficult, because obviously there's the whole, like, the weakness thing that surrounds it, and then and then there's and then, for example, if it was a guy, like, you know, like a straight guy came onto by a gay guy, then there's that whole dichotomy, which a lot of guys who are victim to it, like, can't handle that, and they would just really they would just rather not get in the discussion, you know?
Yeah, totally.
But that's where the really difficult discussion comes in on, like you say, if these people don't get stopped, they will continue to do it, because as you said, they're just constantly planting seeds and just building on it and growing on it. And it's like, in some respects, if you have it happen to you and you don't sort of say something, people can argue that you have a responsibility to speak out to protect future people. But then it's like, if you're not emotionally ready to face, you know, the you know, aftermath of what happens when you do come out, because again, like, coming out about it is really hard to say that, and then but then knowing that it doesn't end there. If it just ended there, then a lot more people would do something, but it's because it's everything that follows that.
And having to relive it as well, like a lot of victims. I mean,
just store it.
I've got my own experience of sexual assault, and that's a different story, but I know that there is triggers out there. Like, this has been a big trigger for me, but there's been certain, it doesn't happen in a way where, like, you kind of heal from it, but then the triggers happen, and then having to go through it and you're reliving it all over again, then you start to realize that actually, fuck yeah, that was really bad, but you sort of downplay it in your mind because you think, oh, maybe I asked for that, or maybe I initiated this, or maybe I acted a certain way, and then you're like, actually no, because you can't believe that it sort of happened, you know? And
I think that's unfortunately, like, something that the second part of what you just said of blaming yourself, that's like a very an attitude that women fall victim to, because of all the negative things about the way that the gender roles are brought up, is that girls are made to feel meek and, like, you know, like, they're not not capable of being responsible for themselves. And, you know, the men are always acting the best interest of everything, and that men are always right and everything. So and so that's I think that's one of the most difficult parts about what happens afterwards is when girls have to struggle with that idea, because if you it's obviously very painful to admit to yourself that something extremely bad has happened, but to struggle with it until you reach that point, it makes it much, much worse, right?
Yeah, definitely. I do think there'll be a lot of people taking comfort though from the fact that there'll be a lot of girls out there that will blame themselves, but now that all this has come out and they can see evidently that it's happened to hundreds of other people, like they're not alone, like they're not going mad, like they didn't, not that anybody would necessarily think they deserved it, but you know, like they know that it was something that happened to them, and then, you know, they weren't making it up in their head, because I think for a lot of people that are abused, that plays a lot of thought in your head a lot of the time, is like, am I over exaggerating that? Am I like, that really happened, this, you know, like, but the fact that it's there evidently, you know, that it's happened to so many other people will sort of help in a tiny way, I think, just knowing that everyone's sort of in it together, and that people are sort of shouting out about it, and hopefully there'll be change, hopefully, because it's a lot bigger than Max Rathbone, like, you know, it's so much bigger than that. I do worry that, like, a lot of, you know, guy tattooers will start worrying about how they are with people now, though. You know? Like,
but then it's like, if you have to worry about it, you probably need to rectify some of your behavior. Like,
I mean, no, sorry, I mean, as in, like,
no, I know what you mean, but
are innocent, like,
no, I know, but then that's the thing, is like, I'm not worried about it, you know,
exactly.
like, so like, you know, it's pretty fucking difficult to make people feel like, actually, well, no, there's things about tattooing that if you're not used to being like naked around people and stuff, it can make people feel really uncomfortable anyway. But
feel vulnerable.
Yeah, but it's like, it's also very easy to not exacerbate that, you know, and people know when it's just them that feels uncomfortable because of what's what's having to happen for the tattoo, and when a guy is intentionally prodding at that idea and making it like, and making it sexual, because there's one, you know, when you're just having to be naked or whatever, that's not necessarily a sexual thing. You know, that's just like your own modesty, right? Whereas when it tips from that to being, it's not even tipping, it's like literally then sexuality is added to it. That's so different, and there's no reason for that bit to ever get added to it, ever.
No, not at all. And the thing is, like, the victims won't even realize that it's happening, because, like, as we all know, you go into that sort of shock, like that survival mode of, like, you don't realize something's happening to you until it's happened, or happened, you know, because it's like, it's so like, wait, what, you know, and before you know it, it's like the time's gone. It's not till afterwards where you're like, fuck, that was inappropriate, or like, you know, because you can't, your mind can't, like, almost deal with the fact that.
But especially if the guy is really good at it, then what he'll have done is made you really comfortable before that. So that then you don't, when he does something, then he'll edge it in more and more as time goes on, so that it seems not out of the ordinary, you know, and like you said, so then that's when the level of self-doubt comes in.
Absolutely, because I feel like I've had it the other way, where like, I've had a few clients in the past that have been really...
that's what I was going to ask you about, because like being like a pretty female tattooer, I often say,
thanks, dude,
I don't understand, or it, like, to me, from what I've seen from my female colleagues, like, it's almost not worth it to be a female tattooer for how fucking difficult it is. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky in the way that I haven't received any, like, dick pics or anything like that, thank fuck. But I've definitely experienced things whilst I've been tattooing.
Would you be okay to kind of describe what that would be?
Yeah.
Because, you know, like a lot of, if you're a guy who's never been tattooed by a female tattooer, which is, you know, obviously quite a lot of people, then you'll have never heard this stuff unless you're in the industry, right? So
So there was a time where I was tattooing somebody's forearm, and he kept moving his hand, and obviously we all know that happens, like naturally you sort of like edge over this way, you don't even realize you're doing it type thing. But it was getting to a point where it was like I had to say something, and then before I know it, his hand was like on my thigh, and he was sort of like he was like, God, my hand's getting to know your thigh pretty well today, isn't it? I had to stop tattooing. Well, actually, no, I carried on tattooing for a couple of minutes because I was in shock.
And you're kind of like, you don't want to, if you're like a reasonable person who's not used to like blowing your lid off, you're like, what is the reasonable reaction to this? And you go like, because you don't want to go nuts instantly.
I am, like, I'm feisty as fuck, and like when, you know, if that was happening,
but you're like a nice person as well.
I would be I would jump on the guy, like, do you know what I mean? But the fact that it was happening to me, it was like that example of what I was saying earlier, where you don't realize that it's happening until it's, you know, I just couldn't believe
like, this can't be as bad as I think it is.
Exactly. And it was just like, I even to this day, I still can't get that out of my head. Like those words of like, oh, my hand's getting to know your thigh pretty well today, isn't it? Like that's fucking gross. It makes me feel sick. So anyway, I got up and I went downstairs, and I just spoke to Jenko and Ashbury and Miles, and I was just like, guys, look, am I being being like a drama queen here? Because I was just like, this is wrong, right? And they were like, why are you even asking that question? Yes, Abby, it's fucking wrong. And like Jenko went white. Ashbury like stopped, put his machines down, and was like, right. So I was like, no, it's fine, I'll handle it. So I ended up wrapping him up and telling him to leave, and I've refused to tattoo him again.
I mean, good on the guys for not blowing their lid, because that's something that I'm quite bad for, is losing my temper.
Well, this is it. Like I'm very much like that. Like when I'm passionate about something, like I am. But I think when it's the other side, and you're
but I think it's when it's kind
of like
easier
out of experience, you know.
Totally. But I think also when you're defending someone, you kind of much more know that you're right, because you can see it from an outside perspective. So you can be like, I see injustice, I'm gonna fucking rectify this, and it's much more linear, you know. When it's with you and it's happening to you, that's when you kind of the self-doubt and
like your senses, your brain, your body, like loads of other, everything separates for a second, so you can't like gather yourself. Whereas, like I said, if it was something that was happening in front of me that I would see, like I would be a fucking bull. You know?
Exactly.
But
that's fucking horrible.
I mean, luckily we have that control to be able to be like, get the fuck out, you know. It doesn't change how it makes you feel, that experience makes you feel, but
I mean, I imagine it makes you feel a lot better, because you then, in comparison to being in another profession where you don't have that level of control, because at least you managed to take control of the situation afterwards, and it's that feeling of helplessness which makes it so bad. Or even worse, sorry, where you feel like there's no escape from it, whereas you can at least be like, no, I don't feel okay with this, and I want you to fuck off.
Totally. So the thought of, like you said, like the thought of putting yourselves then in the shoes of these women that have come forward, it's just devastating to think about how vulnerable we are getting tattooed anyway.
I mean, that is
never mind the rest.
I mean, it's like that's what I always say, what I hate about getting your ribs tattooed and stuff. It's like the pain is one thing, but what I think makes the ribs tattoo so much worse is that way you have to lie. You feel so vulnerable lying like that, because it's like with me, like, because I'm used to like fighting and stuff, I always feel like when I'm lying like that, I feel like someone's gonna come and punch me, right? And it's like, because that's exactly. So like, but then having someone like tattoo you, but then obviously if you're a woman and you're having to sort of lie in this like almost like provocative position,
yeah,
surrounded by fucking bros, you know.
mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, why, you know, there's a lot of girls. I mean, like, when me and some of the guys were talking about this the other day,
Mm-hmm.
like, one thing that was brought up was that sometimes what'll happen is a girl, when, for example, if you're doing like an under boob or like ribs or whatever, and girls need to like cover themselves up, you know, with like tape or whatever, you do get some girls that'll be like, oh no, I don't care, you know.
Yeah, I get a lot of girls that are like that.
And like that's great for you, but it's like I care. So like I want you to cover yourself up.
There
and
needs to be that professionalism there.
Yeah, and everyone else might care, you know. And then also it looks fucking terrible if someone walks into the shop when that is already going on, and then they see this like naked girl and they're like, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
And then like a room full of guys, you know, like that's fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So like that's I mean, and so like, so some guys are like, you know, like, oh yeah, but then you don't know what to do, and it's like, no, you do know what to do. You be professional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you fucking just say, well, it's great that you feel like comfortable and stuff, but we need to keep it professional.
It should proceed like just protocol, right? You know, like
yeah. It's not fucking rocket science, right?
No.
Like, yeah.
Like when you go to the doctors or whatever, like no matter what, like they do things a certain way.
Yeah.
Another thing
that's the problem, is that we never get taught that, really, or like
no, we don't.
No, like apprenticeships are like imaginary, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like apprenticeships are
they really like?
Yeah,
we know.
Like no one ever sat me down and said like, when you're doing this, you know, you only all you really do is pick things up that you see around you. Or if you really don't know, you'll ask your mentor. But like there comes a time where you go like, oh, I reckon I pretty much know what to do, you know. And so, but then if you've been around fucking creepy bastards the whole time, you know,
you're going to adopt
like even if you're not like that, there's going to be certain mistakes that you'll make that you don't realize are mistakes.
I definitely don't think there's enough of an emphasis on the sort of making your customer feel a certain way, and like I said, the service thing, it comes down to you're offering a service, like you're not a fucking rock star,
and that depends on who taught you. Because like I feel like I really did get that by my mentor Shimon. He was really good at you know, because you know, like the real Polish hyper professionalism, you know, like, you know, he was really like and when it came to like hygiene and everything, he was like, he was like, we treat this place like a fucking doctor's surgery, but better. And then he was really good at, you know, like telling me about like, you know, keeping the customer feeling comfortable, and that especially when it comes down to you know, like the way that you get them to lie, and making sure that they're cool there before you even start, and that they're not having to like support themselves to
Oh, I love that. I love that you had. I really do. I don't think I've heard that from anyone before. So I like.
No, but I can definitely see that, you know, how that stuff gets forgotten in other apprenticeships. I'm just really lucky that I did get that.
I'm quite a warm person in general, so I'm quite motherly. So I like people to be okay, and I like sure that. Well, one, you want people to have a good experience.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's in the most cynical way possible. Doing all this stuff is good for you.
Yeah, I know.
So, like, why not?
Like, even if you don't, like, deep down, I mean, I can't comprehend it, but if you
you don't give a fuck,
like, just fucking, at least just fucking fake it, you know, like, make them feel wanted, at least. You know, like, you want them to be there, you want to be doing this tattoo, you want them to be comfortable, and everything. Like, I've seen so many people getting tattooed by people, like, having themselves in certain positions where I'm like, dude, do you want a cushion? Like, I actually go out to be like, you look uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean? Like, just
that making people get the back of their forearm tattooed like that for 3 hours. That is not okay. Like, it's just not. Like, Get a fucking bed out, for fuck's sake.
Like, I don't know about you, but I spend quite a bit of time like thinking about like how because it's not, the more comfortable they are as well.
Yeah.
Like that has like a domino effect on like how you're able to then tattoo.
Yeah.
And
Well, like that's when I realized how much of a difference it makes that if you set everything up as perfectly as possible, that it, so that it can be as efficient as possible. How much easier that makes the tattoo. Because the fucking worst thing as a tattooer you can have in your life is when you're fucking like standing up like this kind of, you're like that's when you start to go like, oh, you just want to fucking throw your machine on the floor and walk out, right? Because you can't get a good stretch because you're fucking upside down and all that.
You're not protecting your back. Like we have to fucking we have to nurture ourselves in that way. Like fuck yeah. Like if you want to be tattooing for a long time, well, depends what happens after all this shit, but
yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's so when I realized that like how much better it makes my life to take that bit of extra time before you start, like make everything perfect before you start, then it goes much easier. But then also ultimately, the more that you do make everyone comfortable, if they're uncomfortable in general and then they get put in pain, they're going to be in a lot more pain than they need to be, which will then make your life a lot harder because they're going to be wriggling around and maybe want to tap out. So
that's the thing I was going to say about the tapping out thing, like especially when you've got like big work to do, like it just makes sense. That's in your benefit if you've got and you want someone to be able to enjoy the experience as much as they can and be comfortable, I'd say enjoy, then it's in your best interest to do that. There's so many reasons why, but I definitely pride myself in that. I think it's very important.
Well, I'm such a wimp that I make it paramount that I don't want anyone to suffer like how I suffer.
Empathy, that's the thing. That's all we need in life right now. Everyone just needs to have a little bit more empathy, a bit more compassion.
But then that is the that's the problem with people like sadistic people like Max, is that it's not about, if they truly didn't have empathy, then they wouldn't be behaving sadistically. Like they need to understand how uncomfortable the other person is for them to be fully satisfied with what they're doing to them, which is a super fucked up thing.
Backwards.
It's just evil. That's basically what evil is. From my sort of determination of philosophy and stuff that I read, the satisfaction from other people's suffering rather than indifference. Indifference to other people's suffering is a certain kind of evil, but I would say it's a lesser kind of evil. And the satisfaction and joy from other people's suffering, that's like what real evil is. But then some people relish being evil.
It's mad. I was thinking about it this morning. The word evil, actually. Weird that you just said that. Because I was thinking, like, what does it really truly mean? Like, just with everything that's going on with, obviously, with America and with this and just lockdown in general, like how we're all treating each other, and like this should be a time of kind of unity in a lot of ways, and there's just so much of a lack of it in so many ways. And I feel like this last 2 weeks for a lot of people has been, it's like the heavy on top of the heavy, it's like it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. Have you spoken to any of your like male like colleagues or anything about going on? What's their sort of general
so some guys are saying stuff like like, fuck, I'm like not even gonna like tattoo any like underboobs from now on, kind of thing, blah blah blah. And I'm like,
that's what I was trying to say earlier about like how it's going to impact certain people in regard to like placements that they want to tattoo, whether they're going to be more inclined to like book in more males than females, and like that
I think I personally think that's like exactly the wrong attitude to have.
I know as well, because if you've got,
if you make more of a big deal out of it, then it's more of a big deal. And like I said, it's totally unjustified. It's totally justified for girls to feel uncomfortable being naked. Because if I had to fucking walk around with my balls out in the shop, I wouldn't be particularly comfortable. And I'm okay with that sort of stuff. I still wouldn't enjoy it. But feeling uncomfortable because of your modesty and feeling like you're being sexually threatened is so two different things, you know. But then like that's woman... no, that I mean that voice is the minority, but it's the most extreme thing that someone has said. Otherwise, it's like people particularly in regards to Max, it's basically everyone's like, you know, I've heard people have been just like, yeah, I fucking heard that shit ages ago, you know.
I know that's what I like started to hate myself on, like in the first few days. I was just like, I know it's not just me, like we all knew and probably things that have happened.
Yeah, it's like word gets about it, like very quickly.
Like, yeah.
But then it's like when it comes to that, it's like, okay, I heard that, and even if you kind of basically know it's definitely true, it's like when we're up in Scotland or whatever, and then you know Max is working down in a shop in England, like what reasonably can we, you know, without just being like, it would seem pretty ridiculous for some guy that's like never met Max Rathbone to be like, yo, I heard this.
Yeah. This is it. This is where, oh, sorry, car alarms are going off. Like it's the evidence that needs to be present. Like there has to be that, like.
But even still, it doesn't make you look very credible in any capacity, even if you know it's true, to just be like blurting shit out if you're so far away from it, you know? Like there needs to be some sort of like tangible link for you for it to look like it's like a real thing, which is the problem. And then obviously, but then it gets harder and harder to say something the closer you are to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I'm not like giving excuses for anyone, but I'm just saying these are the reasons why people find it difficult to speak out.
I think there's a lot, and like we can beat ourselves up about it a little bit to be like, oh, maybe we should have, but then it's like you said, how do you go about it, like without it? I mean, now it's gotten to a point where it's like, fuck the backlash, like speak out. If you know something, say it. Like it's circulating enough now for it to be believed and for something to actually happen. So I mean,
but moving forward and for trying to prevent this sort of thing from either continuing to happen or from sort of newer tattooers starting to behave in that manner, what is the actual implicatable things that we can do as a girl, do you think? And that's speaking as a tattooer and a customer, because like as a so firstly, let's talk about what you think as a girl, as women who get tattooed, what should the sort of attitude be? And I know it's a very bad thing for me as a guy to be asking you, like, what can you do to stop yourself getting raped? Because obviously the main problem main problem is that men's attitudes needs to change, and I'm going to get onto that after you have your turn. But so go on.
So I believe that we can. I think the communication side of it, in regard to, I mean, from the customer, I think just keeping their eyes open, like not to a point where it affects them and how, like, making them feel even more uncomfortable because they're thinking about how, you know,
waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, but just, I think the fact that now there's the awareness there's going to be that kind of like understanding of how you deserve to be made to feel, and if it's different than that, then you have a right to be like, I'm not feeling comfortable.
But that particularly is a thing that a lot of new tattoo customers that they always say is that I don't know what the procedure is, I don't know how it is that it all works, you know. Like
I think we need to make that like apparent, like we need to make that clear, you know? Especially if we are tattooing somewhere like a sternum or even backs. Like when I got my back started, like I felt so vulnerable there, because especially like me, where you have boobs, like you kind of have to have, as you know, we have to have them out. Like
Yeah.
you with tape or whatever, but you have to be completely natural.
Yeah.
So very exposed,
Yeah.
because just your back and like your bum and everything. It's
Yeah.
well, so it's like 3 different things that
But
are going
like that's a great, like, one of the girls that I work, Sarah Louise, taught me, and this is a thing. It's like I just would never have thought of this because I'm not a girl and I don't have boobs, right? And she was like, "Oh, when you're doing girls' backs, just get them to put on a shirt."
Oh yeah, I do that
yeah.
when they're when I'm tattooing them. I'll like make sure. Yeah,
but it's like that's the thing. It's like, as a guy, I wouldn't have known or ever thought to do that. Not because I don't want them to feel comfortable, but just because like it's not in my frame of reference to. So I can't empathize with that.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to think, right, if I was in this position, in this situation, what would I want? But that's it. So that's a great thing.
Like just being able to communicate with people before their appointment what they could consider wearing to cover themselves up, whilst, I mean, obviously what I was saying about the back was I'd get them to not wear anything, obviously, when we're putting the stencil on, but as soon as the stencil's on and it's drying, get that shirt on, so that you know, one, you're if you get cold, but also you're covered. And when you're lying there or sat there or hunched over, whatever, you're covered up. So just thinking a bit more outside the box of what people could wear, and that will help a lot. I think what other.
But that people, I think, that's a really, really good point that you made, is that if people are made aware somehow of what the sort of minimum requirements should be, and how and the minimum requirement of what should be happening does happen, like knowing that if you're getting your back tattooed, there's no reason for you to not be sitting there with a shirt over your front.
Absolutely.
But like, again, so even me as a
backs, people
like, so that's the problem though, is that, but without girls like you and like Sarah Louise in the shop with me, I would never have known to do that. And it's not because I was trying to make people feel uncomfortable or because I didn't even care. I really do want my customers to feel comfortable, but it's just like we need to like really, as an industry, talk much more about how we can make people feel comfortable, and then also just pass that information around as much as possible. Because it's all word of mouth. There's no qualifications. There's no like, actual legal minimum standards that anyone is getting a certificate for to say that they know what to do. It's all us just talking with each other.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one of the points that I wanted to bring, was that maybe we can all discuss more, and we can talk about what we can do to make people more comfortable, and there is more of a sort of protocol, a common sort of do this, it prevent them feeling this way, or whatever, no matter what, screen goes up like for certain areas, and giving people the option to maybe even use different, if you've got another room in your studio that's a little bit more private, offer people it. Like it's not a fucking deal to like take over everything that you need for one fucking tattoo. And jeans, like for one day or for one time, if it means that person's going to feel more comfortable.
I think that's it. It's still true that most shops, probably like 60% of shops are still all guys though. So these things are just not gonna cross their minds.
No.
That's what the problem is, really, or like not what the root of the problem is, but logistically trying to make things better. That's why I see some of the problem being is that like a lot of guys will think, hey, I'm not trying to fucking rape anyone or anything, and I wouldn't feel uncomfortable if I'm having to stand around topless. So then it just like that's what the way that men are. We're fucking stupid, like
not stupid. I understand that it's just we're wired differently, and we think
it's just like we don't have the same fears as you do, so it's harder for us to empathize, so we need to ask, basically. That's I think your standard female tattooer is going to be pretty fucking well versed in what the better version of this would be. So all guy tattooers, fucking ask your female pal tattooers what the best way to move forward is. That's pretty much what I think is the best thing.
No, I agree. I really do. And like you said, when it starts to circulate and like people are talking more and asking questions about what they can do to make people feel more comfortable, to stop, because the more people feel comfortable, the more they're going to sort of, it's not going to impact the business. If anything, it's going to make everybody feel more connected. And
because that's the thing, like if girls who haven't been tattooed at all hear some sort of horror story from their mate, then that's stop them getting tattooed, right? Yeah, so the more people getting tattooed, the more money for all of us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the more people that, like, I've seen a lot of girls say like, yeah, this is why I only get tattooed by female tattooers or friends and things like that. And I
totally fair enough.
Hate for innocent male tattooers to be impacted on this on like such a scale, because there are so many fucking people that haven't done this, you know, that will. I worry that will be affected. But
did you see that thing that has been going around as well, like where girls have been posting all the guy tattooers that they've been tattooed by that were so that made me really happy as well, because that's also what misogynist guys always use, that like the oh, this is going to get so out of hand that, you know, like all men are going to be vilified and blah, blah, blah. Like that's the bullshit that they always try and push. And it's so, this is one of the first times that I've ever seen that let's not make this only negative. Let's try and show that not all guys are like this, and making a real conscious effort to do that. And it made me really happy when I got tagged in that stuff as well, because I personally do make a real effort to try and make like the girls that I tattoo feel more comfortable, and it's really, really nice to know that it's actually recognized. You know,
I can imagine people that have been tagged in those stories and been mentioned as somebody that's made that particular person feel comfortable, like, is just such a like a relief
well, I mean, like that. I think in the most negative way, it would be a relief, because that means that shows that you're kind of worried about something, right? And
okay.
But I mean, no, it's really nice to know that your efforts and that your goodwill is received in the right way.
I had a couple of friends from that have messaged me saying, like, you know, I know that, like, I'm completely, like, I've never done anything this way, like I've never done anything like it. If anything, I've gone above board to make people feel comfortable, but the way things can get interpreted, or, you know, they can get swung around in a way where it could be seen like this, and then before you know it, I'm fucked, and all this kind of stuff, like, and I'm like, well, no, because I have to prove, you know, like,
and also, like, you know, when people get like dragged through the mud like that, it, you know, unless there's something there, it doesn't stick. You know, like,
exactly. So
like people go like, yeah, whatever, like, pretty quickly when it, you know, people can smell bullshit, I think, you know, either way, you know. One thing, did you watch Max's response video?
Yes.
The one thing that I really loved about it, like, so much. Well, actually, before I say that, one of my favorite things about Max Rathbone in the universe is that, even considering everything that's going on, he still has his profile picture as him wearing a Gigi Allen t-shirt.
Yes.
And it's just like a self-proclaimed rapist on his chest. It's like, dude, are you fucking, like, retarded? Come on.
You know
like,
what? I didn't even.
Yeah, so I was just like, that was the first thing that I noticed. I was like, holy fuck. But then in the video, he goes on to say, like, you know, anyone that has any work that's like half done by me, you know, go to another tattooer to get it finished. You have my blessing. And it's just like, but then,
fuck you, blessing.
Yeah. And then he was like, you know, and then he was like, And then I think he realized, like, to his credit, he realized how fucking retarded it sounded, him saying that, and very quickly afterwards went, oh, it's your body. It's like, yeah, it is their body. That's the whole fucking thing that you need to remember.
You know what though? What baffled me was like, if you'd fucked up in any of your words doing that one, like it was 6 minutes or something, right? Like, you'd do it until it was perfect, till you nailed everything that you needed to say. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't want to fucking.
I think ultimately he knows he's caught though, and that's all there is to it. That's why he didn't ever. He only talked about the, like the jokes he made or whatever, and he didn't talk about any of the actual rape allegations or anything. Because ultimately, what's he doing? He's basically doing damage control to try and avoid going to jail.
Yeah.
That's all. Like,
there's rumors.
No one's gonna forgive him for admitting that he raped someone. It's not going to be like, and this is me. I'm not saying. I'm just saying this from his point of view, right? I'm not saying that this is right, but from his point of view, he's like, all I have to care about now is not going to jail and getting fucking ass raped every day.
Yeah.
Because his career is over. He knows that.
Completely.
It is. No one is going to forgive him for taking the high road and admitting that he's done it, because then he's just going to go to jail anyway, as well as the fact he's just going to go to jail. So there's just no benefit to him whatsoever in admitting anything,
No.
So I'm not surprised.
Someone like that just won't admit. He won't sit there and plead with, with his victims to forgive him or anything like that. There won't be any of that.
They wouldn't forgive him, and they shouldn't. So like
ever.
Yeah. No,
but just that kind of, like there's the people that have come forward, the other people. I'm not saying that now they're like exempt from feeling any guilt or anything like that, but they have said like, I'm stepping back because I realise that I am a disgrace. I am this, I am that, blah blah blah, and they're leaving. You know what I mean? Yeah, and like they've recognised that like them leaving means that hopefully tattooing can become something that isn't related to sexual abuse, and that isn't there'll be that kind of it won't be tainted by what's happening and what has, hopefully, I don't know, we'll see. But something needs to fucking, that's for sure.
I think there's always been a problem with the line between this needs to be something we talk about and actual action being taken. That a lot of the time the space between those two things disappear, right, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
But I think in this particular instance, the professionals talking with female professionals about what the best way for us to proceed is definitely the thing that needs to happen. Because like the tattoo industry is always worked on word of mouth and people teaching each other, face to face and hand to hand.
There's proof that it works.
Yeah.
So this can work.
Yeah. So like just in the same way that everyone sits around talking about, like what new machines people are using and techniques and stuff, then in turn, like people should look at it like a professional thing of how can we take this part of tattooing and make it better and move it forward.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that I'd like to do. I think that'd be quite cool to have like almost like a chat with maybe like 2 male tattooers, 2 women. Just sit.
I just had another idea actually, that we could do something like you could actually do like a presentation. Like if you actually really sat down and thought about all the different parts of being a girl going to get tattooed and the whole process of it.
Yeah,
and actually lay out that point of like, okay, at this point, the potential problems that can occur are this, and this, and then this is what we as tattooers can do to try and mitigate that. And because that would be a cool thing, and then we could like put it online, and
I'm gonna get on that. I think
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
And then like if you need like unwitting male, to play the idiot, then I could definitely do that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think, like you said, it's so that it doesn't all just spiral and disappear, and like you know, it's just something that's in our minds when we go back. Oh yeah, that happened, and that doesn't need to happen.
Yeah, like sitting there and being worried about it is useless.
Yeah, it's like, why don't we go back with a plan?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's definitely something to think about for sure. Awesome. But going back to Brad North though, he is miniature Max Rathbones. We need to watch this fucking cunt. Saying.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I'm still undecided on Brad. I feel like he is a young guy who suffers all the same problems that most young stupid boys do, and I think he definitely made like a big mistake, and then because he's a young stupid boy, tried to cover it up.
He had a lot. He had what did he say? I think it was the video that Lucy Pigeon had put up, the first video that was circulating about the abuse with Max. And I think he commented on it. Brad commented something like, yeah, like, well done, like, this needs to be, like, outed or whatever it was. But then there's so many rumours about him sending dick pics to customers. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know he's a young Steve.
I don't get why these young guys are so desperate to show their dicks to people. Like,
I just,
back in my day, we were terrified of girls seeing our dicks.
Really? I don't know. It's different, like, when you're in a relationship or whatever, but I just can't. I'm really glad that I haven't just, like, been sent. I don't know what my response would be. I feel like,
I mean, everyone sees dicks, like, all the time, though, really. So hopefully, a lot of the time, the response is just like, why am I looking at this dick? You know?
Definitely. I've been quite lucky in that respect where, like, I've only ever had, like, a few messages that might be a bit flirty from customers, but nothing. I've always slammed it shut. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lucky in that way where I think the way I come across is quite, like, matey with people. So it's not like I don't give that fault.
Yeah. But then that's also not like, it's not a girl's responsibility to change the way that they talk to people, like, in order to not get, like, sexually assaulted, you know?
Sometimes I feel like I have to sort of be a certain way because I can tell someone's being a certain way with me.
Yeah.
Sort of, like, be a little bit more like.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of like social to and fro, though, really.
Yeah.
But it's only like then, like, that's kind of like when it goes like this, and then you're like, no, I'm not comfortable at this point, and then it should go like that, right? Whereas when someone comes in like that, and then this person's like, holy shit, what the fuck?
Holy shit, what's happening?
That's when, and those two things is pretty obvious when but then then we have people like Max who are insidious and they intentionally build it so they don't realize that it's happening.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. The amount of people that he would have influenced as well with his mentality of, like, how to treat his customers, you know, like people that he and stuff like that. Like,
that's one other thing that some of the guys that I was talking with about it were saying is that, like, you know, guys like that, they, like, try to suck everyone else into it, right? So if you're in a shop like that and there just happens to be two guys like that, then instantly it's like that. It just seems like that's the culture.
Seems like that's okay.
Or it's not even like that's one thing of male peer pressure is that, like, you get very, like, male like posturing and stuff is very, very based around putting the outsider of the group down, right? And, like, most male, like, gangs will always pick, like, a scapegoat or someone that's, like, always the heel of everything, right? So, like, it's very, what they'll do is, like, anyone that's not playing along with, you know, the ideology of the gang they will get attacked and ostracized very harshly, right? So it's very, like, and especially when you have, like, some, like, young apprentice or whatever who just wants to be accepted so fucking desperately. So then, you know, when you have two guys like Max and then, like, one of the other guys who I don't know his name, but I know that he was kind of like the same. So when you have two guys in one shop, then, like, and then, you know, they, like, rule the roost, and it's very hard to escape that.
Yeah, before you know it, you become one of them. And
yeah. So I think that's something that should maybe also be acknowledged, is that in the same way that we excuse girls for not speaking up because they're afraid, you know, while it's happening to them, because like, you know, like the fucking misogynist answer is always, oh, why didn't you just fucking say, like, you know, why didn't you say it right away, like, I'm not comfortable with this? Like, no, it's not like that at all, right? But then that's that goes,
like that.
But then at the same by the same token, when you've got these young stupid apprentices, you know, 18-year-old boys are fucking morons, right?
Yeah.
And when they just so desperately want to be accepted by these guys that they look up to because they're amazing tattooers or whatever, like, you know, like the same sympathy should be given to them at that point for one, not speaking up about it, and two, maybe slipping into it. But it is very different becoming that, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then also being the next Max Rathbone, and then passing it on to the next young stupid apprentice.
I'm hoping that this will be like a big like scare though for a lot of people to that again people just think about how they act with their customers, and that's how it should have been from the beginning anyway. But I just hope all of the victims can sort of heal from this and know that, like, you know, everybody that in the industry cares and wants this to change. Like, it's not just something that's come out and then it'll disappear. Like, we want there to actually be change, and for this to be known as, like, it's not acceptable, and the people will be dealt with and exiled as far as I'm concerned. Where needed, so we can just crack on with doing what we love doing and what it should be important, and that's giving people the best of what our capabilities can do.
And that's tattoos and customer service, right?
100%.
And just like the word customer service, it doesn't have to be like fucking, you know, Asda customer service.
No,
right? It can still be tattooing customer service.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I think a lot of people don't like the word customer service because
I fucking hate the word customer service.
Yeah, same. But it makes you kind of think that you're like
subservient.
Yeah, and almost like, you know, no one really likes to be told what to do, but it's kind of got like something attached to it to be like you have to act a certain way, and that's what people
That's what I always say to call centers. I'm like, stop customer servicing me.
Yeah, but there needs to be a different. You need to think about it differently. We need to think about it differently and know that, like, we owe that to, well, tattooing, like, people, but also like our love for what we do.
Yeah,
you know, like, that's where the respect comes in. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully there's enough volume.
Yeah, man. Cool. Well, that was a fucking awesome chat, man. Thank you very much.
I could go on and on and on, honestly.
Yeah, no, but it was great. But now you've also basically publicly said that you think it's a good idea to make a sort of 100%. Presentation on what to do. So I think that's something that we should maybe work on.
Yeah, I'm 100% down for that, because I've been rattling my brain over the last few days, really thinking about what can we do that isn't just posting stuff on our platforms.
Exactly. That's always a problem. Is that people think they've done something by posting something on the internet, and they fucking definitely not.
No, there's so many things that we can do, especially like the time that we have between now and whenever it is that we go back to work. Like, we can really all come together and come up. We can present something that is realistic and that we can all start adopting into our general routines. Even for just like not even placements that are sort of a bit more revealing, but just in general across the board. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. We should chat about that.
All right, sweet, bro. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Take care, lovely.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.